Blessings. Welcome back to another episode of the All Over It podcast. Today, January 5th, 2026. Yes. Happy New Year. First of all, let me firstly say, I wish you a happy New Year, a blessed and prosperous New Year ahead, filled with health, wealth, and prosperity. Yeah. Love alone, my people. Love and blessings. And welcome back. We in a new year, and we keeping the momentum going. We pushing forward still. We ain't stopping. Foot on the gas. We ain't keeping our we ain't taking our foot off. We keeping it on the gas. No brakes. All gas, no brakes. Yeah. But yeah, like I say, Happy New Year. Welcome back for this new year. Welcome back to another episode of the All Over It podcast. Today, I diving into something special. Today, episode 36 is the Execute with Excellence framework. Yeah. So I probably hear me say that already, use that line already, like, yeah, we gotta execute with excellence and executing with excellence. And yeah, we're here to talk about that today. So as you know, last week I talked about why clarity beats talent. Last week we talked about why clarity beats talent. And tonight I want to show you what clarity actually looks like in practice. So this episode now is about structure, about execution, about systems. But yeah, before I get into things, I gotta big up my boy David one time. Blessings. Appreciate you for joining. Appreciate the support. Appreciate the love. Big up yourself one time, my sister. Yes. Blessings. Appreciate you for joining. Appreciate the love, the support. You don't know. Anybody else watching, leave a little comment in the chat. Let me know who they are. Of course, I can shout you out. And yeah, we here every week, All Over It podcast. Tell a friend to tell a friend. As you know, we on a mission to get the YouTube to 1,000 subscribers. So tell a friend to tell a friend. Hi, Queen. My birthday queen. Yeah, my BBQ. Love alone. Blessings. But yeah, basically this episode is like a natural continuation to last week's episode, which was about clarity. And yeah, if you watched last week's episode, drop a little comment in the chat. And I ain't come here to waste nobody time. I dive in right into things. And yeah, we on the way to 1,000. We moving 100 always. Yeah. So one time, let me pull up. Pam, 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 pam. We deal with it. Yeah. So the execute with excellence framework by Oliver Williams. That is I. So today we're going to dive into why I created this framework. So this is the agenda. A quick nutshell, nothing too crazy, So the focus today is why I created this framework. Then I'll get into the core beliefs or philosophies. Then I'll dive into the 5 core principles and then the 5 phases of application. So basically, let me start by saying why I created this framework. I, for a long time, saw the same problems across different industries. Businesses full of ideas but weak execution. People hustling without systems, teams confused about roles and expectations. Some businesses even scaling too early, and because of this, things breaking. And I could say most businesses don't fail because of bad ideas. They fail because of poor execution. And I kept seeing the same patterns: confusion, chaos, burnout, just in different industries. And like I said, this is my real world observations that I compiled over time that made me decide, what? It needs a structured framework. And I personally have a structured approach to doing things. So I created this framework. So to give an overview of the Execute with Excellence framework, I could say basically the framework helps people, businesses, whether it's an individual, whether it's a team within a business or the whole business itself. The framework helps whoever move from idea to execution, execution to systems, and then systems to sustainable growth. The Execute with Excellence framework is a practical methodology I created for consulting, designed to bring clarity, structure, and execution into businesses and operations. Everything I do in consulting, training, and optimization, even in my personal life, runs through this framework. I'll dive into the core philosophies. So, one thing I could say: hustle without structure eventually collapses. Scaling inefficiency doesn't fix problems, it multiplies them. So, the philosophies behind this framework I created are: number one, action beats overthinking. So, like I say, from ideas to action, yes, you could have an idea, but an idea in here ain't serving no purpose. You have to execute it. Like I just say, knowledge is power, but the application of knowledge is where the power truly lies. Because you could know something, but if you don't do something with it, if you're not taking action, it's just wasted knowledge. I'll say like that. Good night, Carol. Blessings. Welcome. Good night, Mel. Thanks for joining. Appreciate the support. Love. So moving on, the second philosophy behind this framework is structure beats chaos. When you have structure, things become clear. Without structure, without an organized process, things become chaotic. Unless everything is organized, unless everyone on the team knows their role and what their responsibilities are, there will be chaos. The third philosophy is optimization comes before expansion. Focusing on optimization ensures processes are effective, leading to sustainable growth before scaling. So basically, what I'm saying is, before you could grow your business, before you could say, yeah, instead of going from $1,000 a month, let me go to $10,000 a month, you have to make sure that all the processes running smoothly. Because if you scale up and you're having issues, you can just create more issues for yourself. And then number 4, training beats assumption. So build sustainable operations, establishing sustainable practices so support long-term success. It also creates a resilient framework, for ongoing development. So these are the philosophies that this framework is built upon. Because bottom line, when you have clarity, when you know what you want to do and you take action and you start to organize yourself in a way like, okay, I know I just sell coconut water. And maybe beforehand, I had an idea. I say, you know what? I want to sell coconut water. Why need? You start thinking, but then you don't just sit down and keep thinking. You actually do it. You go get what you need and you actually go out and you do it. When you start doing it, you'll get to see what works, what doesn't work. And then from there, you could start optimizing things by whether starting to write down your process. So let's say if your process is when you enter your establishment, you clean and sanitize first, wash your hands, then you collect the items you need, you stock it, inventory, and then you start preparing it. Whatever your process is, write it down so that when the time comes that you bring someone else on, or if you need some assistance from someone else, you could explain them clearly exactly what you just do because you already have it on paper. And then from there, you're able to grow because you already have things properly organized and structured in a systematic manner. Yeah. So that's why I say hustle without structure eventually collapses. Scaling inefficiency doesn't fix the problem, it multiplies it. So let me say if you have your business and you're selling maybe some type of liquor, and maybe right now you're selling like 100 units a month, but you want to scale up to 1,000 units a month, we say 10 times. But now, right now, at your current level, you have issues with maybe your workers, or maybe you have issues getting supply, whatever the issue is. Before you could, let me say, take on those orders, those instead of 100, 1,000, those extra 900 orders, you have to make sure your system, you have to make sure your operation is running well, is streamlined. You need to make sure your operation could handle that added load, because you might say, okay, I can take the orders. Maybe you have a client that you know, a customer that you know that decide they want to up things, and You sign a contract with them saying you're going to fulfill that, but you never check your operation to see if it could sustain it, you know? And then you go and you do that, and then you notice your employees burning out, your employees can't handle the load, your suppliers late because now you ordering more, but you can't get it in time. All these things is issues and things that should have been optimized before growth. So just so you could get an understanding, so you could start to see why these things are important. So next I'll dive into the 5 core principles behind my execute with excellence framework. So number 1, execution over ideas. Ideas only matter when implemented. Ideas gain value only through implementation. Progress comes from movement, not intention. So you could have all the intention in your mind, say, yeah, man, I can start a farm, I can do my gardening, or let's say maybe you tell yourself, you know what, I go at cooking, I can open a little food restaurant. Yeah, you have ideas, you have intentions, but it doesn't matter unless you implement it. And you ain't gonna make no progress, you ain't gonna know what working, you ain't gonna know what ain't working until you actually go out and do it. you know so take action, but take consistent action. Don't just start up today and then maybe next couple of days or next week you stop or you give up on it. No, if you decide that's your dream, that's your purpose, that's the vision you see for yourself, that's your why, go and get it. Yeah. Number 2, clarity before complexity. Yeah. Clarity, like I talked about clarity last week. You gotta know where you're going. You have to know what's working. You have to have clarity of self. A clear plan helps to avoid confusion. Also, it simplifies processes and it helps you with making your operations more effective. So when you have a clear plan, when you know what you want to do, all of that helps you. Just sitting down and planning, that right there in itself is powerful. Like I even talk about in a presentation I did, I spoke about how powerful a business plan is when you start in your business. Because if you really pull out and do in detail all the different elements of a business plan, you basically know your business before it even starts. You know what you want to do, you know your pricing, how you want to do it, you know how you want to promote it, you know who you want to sell it to, you know, even down to when they would want to buy it, because you got the idea of what the market looking like through market research. And with your business plan, you could literally say, okay, this is my business, and it's just execute. So things like these, just having a plan, period, gives you clarity. Because of course, especially in business, but even in regular life, in our personal life, things become complex, things become hectic and just turbulence. So we gotta do what we could to Try to keep ourselves grounded and keep ourselves well. Yeah, because burnout and all these things, just fear of failing and a lot of different negative, we are up against a lot of negative battles, let me say like that. And we have to be strong to overcome. So having that clarity helps. Number three, systems beat hustle. Yeah. Hustle is human dependent. Think of it like this. If you are the person doing the coconut, or if you are selling some type of juice, or maybe you the landscaper or the car wash man, you on a hustle, you going out there, you hustling, trying to make a dollar, but it's human dependent, meaning if you don't go out there, no money you making, you know. But now with a system, the system creates consistency and scale. Whereas now with your system, you know what you're doing consistently. This is something now you could train somebody else to do as well. You could scale up because now you have your routine, you have your regular process, your standard operating procedure. So bottom line, systems allow average days to produce excellent results because now instead of it just being average, you have your system, so you could do a lot more, you know. Instead of just doing bare minimum, your system allows you to optimize. Moving on to the next one, optimize before you scale. Yeah. So under optimize before you scale, the first thing I have to say is fix what's broken first. So you have to really identify, observe your operation, observe yourself. So this is not just for business, this is even for personal individuals who want to live a more clear life and want to escape the chaos that sometimes life could bring. So understand, fix what's broken first. Don't just try to change things or better things. No, you have to fix what's not working first. Yeah. So now optimize before you scale. Improve efficiency through small adjustments, and this can lead to significant gains. Before you expand resources or efforts, you should optimize because this can allow you to really open doors. This can allow you to really advance and elevate when you do scale up. Because now think of it this way. Like I used the example just now, 100 units a month, we want to go to 1,000 units a month. If we was to optimize our processes first, then that wouldn't be a problem. Once we move up to the 1,000, we have the resources, we have the team, we have the necessary inventory and everything we need to cover this added. So then, because of this, let me say when we go from that 100 to that 1,000, we're able to still fulfill all of that 1,000. So let me say from each unit we making, let me say $10. So now we getting a full 1,000 units fulfilled, so that's $10,000. Good. But now, if you try to optimize with broken systems, with broken processes, then what will happen is, let me say, maybe if one of your issues is personnel, like your workers, then maybe you take on that added orders and maybe somebody don't come work, or maybe, like I say, maybe inventory is your problem. So then you end up missing out on certain of these orders because maybe you don't get your inventory in time to make and fulfill these orders. So then instead of getting your full 1,000 orders, maybe you only get half, or a little over half. So let me say maybe a hundred, instead of the 1,000 orders, maybe you get 700. Let me say. So instead of making a full 1,000, now you only make 6,000 or 7,000. Check. That's money on the table. You understand? So I give you that example as a clear analogy of why optimizing is key, why you need to fix the broken systems, fix the broken issues, fix whatever issues you have in your business, fix whatever issues you have in whatever you're trying to elevate. This is why you need to optimize first before you scale up, because you'll be losing money, plain and simple. Because when things could be going better, they're going to be going mediocre, you're going to just be going average, you know? And we ain't shooting for average, right? We're doing things so that we could be on the forefront. We're trying to be up to the time. We're trying to be a good, upstanding, proper business that is growing, that you have your employees that feel comfortable, that they see the growth for themselves too, that they feel happy to come and work for you. Yeah. So this is why you optimize before you scale. And then train people. Number 5. Train people. Don't just hire them. One thing I could say, performance comes from structure. You know, people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because systems are unclear. You know, so expectation must be taught. In my opinion, when you establish a good training program in your business, it really propels your operation, because now even new hires and regular, not new hires and already established employees can, whether get the understanding of the company operations or the organization policies and rules and how they operate, but also seasoned workers also can refresh, and anything, any information they need, they can better, they can advance themselves. You know, so for me, training is vital, and in my experience, a lot of companies don't really train their employees when they are new. Sometimes they would have like training for like training programs. They bring in a trainer, or maybe have the employees do online trainings to gain certain certifications or better their understanding of the role. sometimes I've seen that. But for the most part, a lot of businesses don't train their employees. What they do most times is maybe they'll have the new hire just shadow a seasoned employee, and a lot of times they'll only have them do that for like a week and then have them, kind of like throw them into the water. Like, in my opinion, that's not really training. Yes, being around and shadowing seasoned employees can be helpful, but that should not be the sole form of training. And honestly, think of it this way. Now, if you have an employee that doing things not as you intend, or that not following your proper protocols and procedures, then now you go and you have the new hire shadow them. So now the new hire is going to pick up the traits and processes that you don't want them to follow. So this is why you train and you have your procedures and your expectations outlined so that everyone could know what's expected of them. So that's why when you work in a job, they have evaluations and all these things, because they already tell you what you expected, and then maybe periodically, maybe every month or every few weeks, they'll have like a meeting with you and tell you, okay, well, look, this is what we need you to do for the month. And then, yeah, you have to meet those quotas or get those tasks completed. And once that's done, then when you get reviewed for your evaluation, then the boss will tell you, okay, well, you're doing good. So it's the same concept. It's the same concept. But if you don't train people and make it clear of your expectations, you can't do that. You wouldn't be able to clearly tell the employee, okay, well, look, this is what rightfully you have to do. You know, you need to do that upfront. So yeah, these are the five core principles of my execute with excellence framework. As I say, number one, execution over ideas. Number two, clarity before complexity. Number three, system beats hustle. Number four, optimize before you scale. And number five, train people. Don't just hire them. Yeah, telling you. So I'll move on one time into the five phases of the framework. So this is how I apply it step by step. So firstly, I start with diagnosis. You diagnose, just like when you bring your car to your mechanic, you diagnose the problem, or just like when you go to the doctor and you're not feeling well, diagnose the problem, check you, ask you a few questions to see what could be the issue. Same concept, same concept. So phase one, diagnose the core issue. So you want to get an understanding of the operations, the workflows, anything that could be a bottleneck. You identify what's working and what's not. So bottom line, you cannot fix what you haven't identified. So if you don't know something is a problem, you're gonna fix it, right? So you gotta identify that it's a problem. So you gotta be real about things, define what the roles, what the operations are, and then from there you can identify what the bottlenecks and issues and setbacks are, and then establish goals. So the second phase is clarify. So when you move from diagnosis, you move into clarify. Clarity. See, I always talk about clarity. Good. So clarify. Align your goals, roles, and direction. You want to remove ambiguity, meaning be clear, be detailed. You don't want things left to chance or thought. You want everything outlined. So clarity creates alignment. Alignment creates momentum. So think of it like this. When you're clear about what you want in your business, it make it easier for you to find employees that align with that, or it make it easier for you to see if your employees are already aligning with that. Check. So yeah, you want to define clear goals. You want to really have a clear vision and mission, and then you want to map your processes. So write down, create a visual representation of workflows to streamline operations and improve efficiency across teams. Yeah. Number three, optimize for efficiency. See, realize that all these things flowing into each other, we flowing just like a stream. Good. Number three, phase three, optimize for efficiency. So here, like I say earlier, you want to improve existing processes. You want increase efficiency without expanding, because you want to expand before things are clear and streamlined. Good. So bottom line, better systems beat bigger teams. Because some people, they might think to themselves, wow, things growing, let me go bring on more people, and then they bring on a bunch of people, and then things still ain't working. But why? Because you never optimize, you never create structure, you never say, you know what, okay, let me make sure this what I doing working. No? So yeah, you want identify what's waste. Examine processes to identify and eliminate waste. Ensure resources are used effectively and efficiently. So after that, you streamline your processes. You implement strategies to simplify your workflows. So watch at it this way. After you start observing, okay, I just sell these coconut water, I just do it like this. This is the process that I follow every day or every time I go out and sell. You start to think to yourself, okay, I'm wasting time doing this specific part. Maybe if I do it this way, or okay, let me say like this. Maybe you wash the coconut and you realize for yourself, you know what? If I go and get a power wash, that could save you a lot of time because the power wash could help you clean them a lot faster. Boom. You realize like, okay, you're buying bottles, but you see whereas you could get it for cheaper and the next supplier more consistent, and all these different things. So you find ways to optimize things to make things a little better, like you look for the, maybe it might seem small, but the things that when you grow would grow too, so if you fix it now that you're small, when you grow, everything good, So this is why you want to optimize. So you identify was wasteful, was problems in your process. Maybe you realize like, okay, you have your station set up a certain way where you notice because of how you got it set up, it making you move too far every time. So you're checking, what? You set it up different. You rearrange your station so that it could be a little more streamlined. So let me say, if you know, okay, you just chop the coconut here, then you put the bottle here, and then you put a cooler right next to the bottles. So then it's just a straight, streamlined process. And that has increased productivity because now things moving smoother, you don't wasting time, you're getting things done faster, so you're using less energy, you're getting more sales because now things moving faster. You're with me, right? You with me? Let me know if you with me. Leave a little comment if you're with me so far. And then yeah, after that you just measure, you keep track, you keep your data so you can see what working, what ain't working. Then number 4 is systemize. So for me, I probably think this is one of my favorite parts because I don't know, I like standard operating procedures. I like SOPs. I like streamline operations. I like things clear. I like doing things in an organized, proper, structured manner. So when you reach here, that's where you get in. Systemize your operations for success. Because what? You standardize your processes. You create consistent procedures to enhance efficiency and reduce for variability across all operations. Good. Then after, you implement these procedures. Yes. So you develop clear guidelines for task execution to ensure quality and reliable outcomes. Then you automate the workflow. So now that you don't know what procedures you're following and how you're following them, and now you're tracking it, you could start to say to yourself, okay, I could automate this. I could add some way that this could be automated. So automated meaning you use technology to streamline repetitive tasks. So things that you're doing all the time. So let me say, if you gotta check your email every day, if you gotta send a specific message every day, if you know that every week you have to send out a post, you automate these things. So let me say if you got your business and you got to market every week, or you got to market, you set automations. Maybe you create a content calendar like I mentioned in not last week's episode or the one before. Whereas now you just schedule your content, all of that's automation. So instead of having to go there that day and have to go look for the picture and then go think on what you're going to type and then type it out. No, you sit down and you bulk it. You sit down, maybe you take an hour and you say, okay, I need 6 posts for this month, and you decide what pictures you need, you decide what text you're going to put with it. And with these platforms, you could schedule these things. You don't have to go and post it now all the time. You could go and schedule it. So you could go say, okay, I want to post it on January 13th at 7 p.m. And that's what can happen. If you have me on like Facebook and thing, you probably see last week and thing I post a bunch of posts about on my agriculture page and thing. All of those are scheduled. Yeah, yeah, because they're utilizing the tools that has been granted us, especially in 2026, man. But yeah, monitor your performance. Once you implement a system and you see that your operation running smoothly, then you just monitor it to make sure everything going good. When you see things going good, you checking, okay, that good. When you see things going bad, you could see it before and you could move accordingly. You could make adjustments so that things will go good again. Yeah. And then number 5, scale. Scale or stabilize. So with this phase, what I would say is it's important to grow intentionally or maintain excellence. It's important to grow intentionally, not just grow willy nilly. It's important to grow intentionally or maintain excellence. Meaning, like it says, scale or stabilize. Meaning, scaling mean you want to grow your business. Like how I say, in the example, you want to go from 100 units a month to 1,000 units a month. Or even if you say you want to go from 100 to 200, that's scaling too, because that's double. So scaling up mean you growing your business, you advancing your operations, you making things grow and get bigger. Yeah, straight up. So it's up to you. Maybe you already scale up to a certain level and you don't need to scale again. But now you need stability. Maybe you need to stabilize. Maybe things still a little rocky, even though we scale up and at maybe you in your business are you doing 100,000 a month. But you see, whereas it got holes and bottlenecks. So even at those levels, you could stabilize and make sure you maintain excellence. So all these things does prevent burnout and it is prevent breakdown too, because you might scale up your business or you might feel like, okay, yeah, we're doing so much money now, but then two tools a breakdown, can't handle it, can't supply, can't get your inventory, like I say, and two tools, you gotta close your doors. So you're so bragging about, yeah, why are we making 100,000 a month? In a couple of months, you're making nothing. This is why it's important to grow intentionally or maintain excellence. Meaning, make sure even if you at a high level already, you make sure that your processes are still optimized. You make sure that you still checking, diagnosing, and following your plan. Check. Anyways, one thing I could say is not every season is for scaling. Some seasons are for strengthening. So that's where I stressing on the fact of, yeah, sometimes you don't have to scale up even when you're already at a certain level, or maybe you're still on like a small scale level, but you do plan to scale. But you need to optimize first. You need to make sure everything is running smoothly, everything is how it's supposed to, doing what it's supposed to before you could advance things. Yeah, yeah. So remember, Expand your operations, yes. You need to identify opportunities to grow and replicate successful business models across new markets. So if you see that you could expand your operation, do it. But make sure you have done the previous phases prior to make sure that everything smooth. Here you could increase sales because now you could start implementing strategies to boost revenue. But you gotta make sure you maintain your quality and customer satisfaction while you're expanding. Thereafter, you maintain your stability. You focus on sustaining your operational efficiency and financial health as your business scales and evolves. And then you monitor your performance. That's one thing you gotta do all the time now. Monitor it. Make sure you're keeping an eye on it. Watch it to make sure you're doing what you gotta do. So regularly assess it to ensure everything is aligned with growth objectives and the organization is healthy. So understand this may sound like, yeah, this only for big businesses and you know so on, but understand this works for anybody, even individuals. So you might tell yourself, yeah, but I want to get more money, but you can't even handle the situation you're in right now. So a lot of people might tell themselves, yeah, but they want to get a next job that paying more so that they could, make more money and so on. But then they ain't considering their expenses. They ain't have like a good idea of their expenses and income and how their spending habits are. So then, okay, yeah, maybe you might go from $1,000 a month to maybe 3,000 or $4,000 a month. But then the expenses probably gonna just rise with it as well. So you probably ain't gonna see none of that money anyway. So now you have to have that discipline to know like, okay, before I scale, I gotta look for the inefficiencies in me. I gotta look for what it is I have a problem with, what it is I don't just go spending my money free willy nilly on. So you have to diagnose, start checking yourself, checking like, okay, start keeping record of what all you to spend money on every month, how much money you to spend on it. And then you could start getting an idea, okay, create a plan. Okay, I want to advance myself to $4,000 a month in income. But I notice my expenses already is like 800, 850. And I know myself, if I go and increase my income, I can go buy a new car. I can probably move out my apartment and go get a bigger apartment. So my expenses gonna rise up for sure. So let me be mindful and be smart about things. And then once you do that, you can implement your strategy, scale up yourself, and sustain. Yeah, man. Look, and that right there, that was a use case I gave you there. But understand, they have real world applications for what I just mentioned. So this framework applies to consulting, AI implementation, business operations, training and workshops through various different industries, whether agriculture, service businesses, and hospitality, startups, tech, you name it. The industry changes, but the framework does it. The framework stays the same. And if I had to say who this framework is for, this framework is for any entrepreneur, small business owner on a whole, teams needing structure. So maybe you own the whole business, but your department just need a little more structure. Nobody ain't working together, everything out of whack. Need a little more structure is for you. But just any individual tired of chaos, people ready to execute, people ready to elevate. So if you somebody who tired of spinning your wheels, if you somebody who just tired of the chaos and ready to execute and advance and propel your life, this framework is for you. I'm telling you, this framework is for you. So in closing, I have to say, execution guided by clarity, supported by systems, and sustained through excellence. That's what this framework is about. I'll say that one more time. Execution guided by clarity, supported by systems, and sustained through excellence. That's what this framework is about. You know, this isn't about working harder, it's about working correctly. Like how do they say, no, don't work hard, work smart. Don't work harder, work smarter. Well, this ain't about working harder. This is about working correctly. This is about doing the right things, doing what we know will work because it's based on principles. It's not just freewheeling. It's not just, like we say just now, spinning the wheels of chaos. No, we have structure. We have a proper principles that we follow in, a proper philosophy backing up our beliefs and our actions. So that being said, I, over the year of 2025, had the opportunity to provide training. I've done different things, whether in person trainings, whether speeches, different things, even opportunity to do speeches and pitches when I travel. Let's say when I went to Borneo, for instance, I didn't do nothing like that when I went to Colombia. But yeah, so that being said, I have been providing consulting services to a few different individuals and businesses. However, moving forward, I will be officially, formally be providing consulting services Whereas in the soon near future, coming soon to a theater near you, like how they say, yeah, you will be seeing my consulting ads coming out. Starting slow, you can just do a normal text one, picture, but then we're going to get into video ads too. But I will be providing my consulting, whereas I can be contacted and my scheduling link will be attached to my ad so that you can schedule an appointment if you would like my services. Great. I will be providing consulting services. I will be doing workshops, and also I will be doing future breakdowns of this my execute with excellence framework, which I will be protecting my intellectual property. Don't question that. Good. If you or anybody you know would be interested in my services, you can reach out to me and we can have a conversation and have a diagnosis. Good. Like I mentioned in this presentation, we can have a discovery call and get to an understanding of how we can move forward together. So if you or anyone you know, whether business, individual, anybody you know that maybe living in chaos but want to do better, you could reach out to me and we could get to work on executing with excellence. Yeah, yeah. So tell a friend to tell a friend. You heard it here first on the All Over It podcast. Oliver Williams is going to be heavily promoting his consulting services. And don't get it twisted. I mean, I ain't doing my agriculture thing. Good. Make that clear. But I tell her already, my foot is on the gas. So this is my call to action. Hey, action. Action. Like Action Jackson. Yeah, though. On a serious note, I really would like for all of us to elevate. I would like for all of us to live in our purpose and just feel good about our life and good about what we're doing in life, and that comes with reflection and understanding and planning and purpose. And for sure, God can't do without He, for sure. But if you know you want to do better, if you know you've been thinking about it so long and now is that time, reach out to me. Yeah, reach out to me. So that was my presentation on my framework, the Execute with Excellence framework, which this is the basis of all of my consulting services, whether it be business consulting, AI consulting, even down to trainings and coachings, different things along those lines. This is the foundation that everything else is built on. And if you observe, it really moves, it flows smoothly. It's like a build up. You start from an idea because, like I always say, everything, whether it's a business, whether it's whatever you do, whatever skill you decide you want to gain in life, starts from an idea. You know, you tell yourself, you know what, I want to start cooking, I want to learn how to cook. Starting here. And then you start telling yourself, how can I learn how to cook? Where I have to go? Who I gotta learn from? Who I know that could cook that I could check? And then from there, once you start putting in the time, you're gonna see yourself start to get better. And then over time, when you look back and you reflect, you tell yourself, wow, I can remember when I didn't even know how to cook nothing. Or even better yet, driving a car. Most of us drive a car now, one hand, we on the phone, we looking at and talking to people, that kind of thing. But before we started to drive, before we went for a license, before we went driving classes, that was unheard of. That was foreign. That was like, what? Not me. But now it takes practice. You went to learn, you watch people who are doing it. Maybe you take classes, you get a teacher to teach you how to do it. And now you're doing it. Maybe in the beginning when you had just get your license, you were still feeling a little awkward. But now you're good to go. Jump in the car. Once you got gas, once it start, we on the move, right? Same concept. So everything is a build up. You start from the foundation. You start from the ground up. When you build a house, you don't build from the roof come down. No. You start from the foundation. You start from the ground. Build the foundation. You build the walls. Put up your beam and all these things. You pour your roof. Yeah. Yeah, your roof is the last. After that, it's final touches, plasterings, put means, your whatever's, cabinets, all these things, plumbing, electrical, blah, 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 such and such. But yeah, anyways, look, like I tell you last year, tell you December, foot on the gas. I am not sleeping on none of the opportunities that I have at my advantage, at my disposal, at my whatever you want to call it. I'm not sleeping, period. That's the message. That's the point you need to understand. I ain't sleeping on nothing. So understand that this is a big part of it. This here is a big part of it. Because I realize in life, a lot of people has come to me for advice. A lot of people, I find myself a lot of times like a counselor, like a therapist, like a financial advisor, even though I'm not a financial advisor. Let me make that clear. You know, like even down to like political advice. Like people has come to me and confide in me. Sometimes I don't understand why. In a sense of like some of the things that people come and confide in me about, I am dumbfounded in a sense of like, what make you decide to come and tell me? Like, is it something about my face that just gives that aura, that friendly, open, supportive aura? But I guess whatever the case be, that's how life is for me. That's how life has been for me a long time, as long as I could remember, long before I even run for politics, to be honest. Like, I would be like a therapist to many. Like, really, people would come and confide in me about things that I doubt they even tell anybody else. Or sometimes they would tell me they never tell nobody else. But bottom line, I see whereas this is something God put on my heart. This is a trait that God gave to me. And I realized that that's one of the purposes that I've been placed on this earth to fulfill, you know? Not saying I better than nobody. Promise you that. With all humility, with all humbleness, I know I don't know everything as well. Let me make sure clarify that. But still, I do have a lot of insight I could share, a lot of knowledge, and over the years of life that I have compiled, I know 32 ain't much for some, but I have gained significant wisdom, I would say. Like I say, with all humbleness and humility, you know, I have a good understanding of life. And I know that my advice and sentiments have strong value. So I decided, you know what? I already been providing people advice, and I already been an advisor to certain people, a consultant to certain people, like a counsel to some people. So yeah, I decided why not do it properly, professionally, more structured and formally. So like I say, right now, this is the framework I follow in, and I already put together my services page, which going together with my framework so people can understand that these services, once I provide these services, is based off of these principles and this framework. Let me say that. After that, like I say, I show it on this podcast. Are you been there with me through the steps? Now I just know everything is connected. Good. But I show on this podcast how I set up my scheduling app too. Good. So if you've been here, if you'd have come on, you'd have see and you would understand and experience the build up too. Yeah, check. But yeah, all of that. Scheduling app done created. Check. So now wait for it. Just now you're gonna see the ads coming out. Don't be simple, man. Nothing crazy now. I ain't a crazy man. I'm not a crazy man. But yeah, we doing things. We advancing, despite what I've been through recently, I making sure I continue elevating, and I really took some time to reflect, and I know I want out the life and I'm going for it. So even some might say, yeah, but you want to do everything, man. You can't do everything. And I know I can't do everything. Check. I know I could only do what God intend for me to do. And I know only what God have in store for me is what I can get. Trust me, trust you, me. Everything, every single thing that God have in store for me, Oliver Williams, I am going for and I'm going to get it. I am not going to sleep on it. I'm not going to leave none of it slip through the cracks. And that's why, although I doing my agriculture and I building my agriculture business and I doing my agriculture posts about, the things that is do and the different fruits and the different things, and I still pushing this. And although, okay, my father passed, working on taking up the taxi license, whereas how it works, it has to go to my mother, and then I would be put on as a help chauffeur. So yeah, going to do that too. Yeah, yeah. And do my consulting. And guess what? Whatever else God have in store for me is going to be handled as well. Because what? Not in no greedy way. I promise you that. But like I say, in the most humble way possible, I gonna eat food. I gonna eat whatever food on my plate. You check? Of course, we ain't gonna be greedy. We ain't gonna be gluttonous. We ain't gonna just overeat till we belly bust. No, 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 no. But what? I could handle it because God knows. God knows. He knows what He put in our life, and He knows what battles put in front of us for us to face. So me, I am a man at a smile in the face of adversity. When things looking rough and tough, I don't falter, I don't fall, I don't call up and cry like in a ball. I'm not this fellow. Check. So we doing things, we making things happen. Like I say, we taking advantage of all opportunity. And some might say, but Oliver, you crazy, but how you don't do all them things? Wait, watch it. Look, I'll share with I. Pause. Even the other day, my own mother will come tell me like, yeah, well, you know, but how you gonna deal with the chickens and do the taxi and do, your other things? And I check in, mommy, look, first of all, I ain't worried and I know myself. I ain't going to overwork or burn out myself. And let me say this. People all the time just have multiple operations running and everything running smoothly. So I can't do it. No. What I told her is, look, I could do multiple things and do them properly. All I have to do is organize and plan myself and schedule myself. Everything will run smooth. Check. And once you got a schedule, once you have a system, so you realize how that was a little call back to my framework. But once you have a system, you good to go. And I have a system. Look, Just the same, just the same. This is the idea. My idea is I going to do consulting. I going to provide consulting services. Yeah, that's the idea I going with. And I gotta plan it. I gotta be clear about what I want to do before I go and try to do it. Clarity before chaos. Right? Good. You with me? Good. So I sat down and I did my research. I did my deliberation. I did my due diligence. I reflected. I thought this out properly. I brought that clarity to myself. Because I ain't gonna lie to you. I thinking on this consulting thing a little while now. At least over maybe 2 years now. Real time. Probably since my last job. Maybe a little after that. Anyways, so yeah, like I say, clarity. Yeah. After clarity, guess what? You gotta implement. You gotta do it. You gotta execute. Execute. So guess what I do? I execute it. And I don't have the systems. I don't put together documents. I don't put together all the different things I need. So it's already structured. So now, guess what? I could scale if I want. I could take on. I could add people if I want. Yeah. And trust and believe, because I already have things right down, because I already have my process outlined and all these things, I could train people properly, formal training. To understand, I just follow my own framework with you for my own self. Check. Anyways, just know, like I say, this ain't just talk, this ain't just something in the mind. This is something real, something tangible. Yeah, gotta protect my intellectual property because then, yeah, we know how things be. But yeah, I feel good. I feel confident. I feel positive about 2026. Like I mentioned already, I had this picture I saw that said 2025 is learning, 2026 we dropping the L, which means earning. So yeah, learning, take away the L is earning. Good. So yeah. This year we on a different page. We turn the page and now is a different chapter. So now it's 2026. Like I said earlier, I wish all the best, blessings and prosperity, health, wealth, strength, forward elevation and momentum, straight forward, no backward. Yeah. I wish just God's goodness and love upon you and yours. Yeah. Once again, I thank you. I thank you for coming on, watching this podcast, taking the time out, because you didn't have to. So I appreciate you. And, like always, I can keep coming with good things. I can keep the momentum going every week. And yeah, I can keep bringing you value. And I know that I actually talked to somebody today about an interview coming up, not next week, but don't worry. I tell her, we working. This one will be interesting. Something like different, like related, like I'll just say it's like related to AI, but it's not like these AI tools that we are accustomed to, like what I've been talking about. But don't worry, I know that's all I'm gonna give today. That's all I'm gonna give. But coming soon, you can see what it's all about. Like I say, promise you, I have good stuff in store, and we can have a good 2026 movie. Blessed night, Carol. Blessings. But yeah, like I said, I appreciate all you for joining. I appreciate you taking out the time. I appreciate you consistently coming on, watching, and just being here with me. Without you, there would be no All Over It podcast. So I appreciate you. I really do. And yeah, we had a good 2025. 2025 was the start of this. And how I see it, we got years to go. Every week, every week. Yeah. Oh yeah. Love alone, my people. I hope you have a blessed week onwards. About to close off, about to jump off the live. So I hope you have a blessed week ahead. Stay positive, stay blessed, and stay prosperous in this new year. Start it on a good foot. I hope it started off to a good start and continues on that momentum. Because once you start good, usually you could keep that going. But if you start bad, then So yeah, but yeah, blessings on this January 5th, 2026. In a new year, we about to make it a good one. So I thank you for being on this journey with me so far, and I look forward to you being on this journey with me moving forward. Like I say, as usual, blessings to you, blessed night onwards, and I will see you here again for sure next week for another episode of All Over It podcast. Blessings and love, my people.